Okay. Good afternoon to all of you and a very warm welcome. Can you give me a confirmation? Am I audible? Am I visible? You can give the confirmation on the WhatsApp itself. Just let me know. Welcome to all of you. Uh, we'll be starting as soon as you provide me with a certain confirmation. Am I audible? Am I visible? Are we good to go on the audio and the video part? Okay. Uh, Great. So we have things in order. Uh, Good afternoon, Sanya. Good afternoon, Rohini. Good afternoon, Purba. Where are the others? Uh, I'm assuming they are joining in. Okay. Well, they'll come across. First of all of you, a very warm welcome. We are about to begin a big journey, which we'll be covering together. And when it comes to the subject, I'll be discussing about the subject in a while. Before that, uh, political science has been a subject which has been dear to me, and I got acquainted with the subject when I myself was preparing for the civil services, and I had no prior background of political science. Yet, I chose political science because I had this inclination towards knowing about ideologies, and I was always keen about knowing what does liberalism stand for and what's the importance of Marxism and socialism. And I used to talk about ideologies with my friends in my college. And then when I decided that I want to write the civil services examination, then simply because of pure interest, I went ahead with political science and international relations. And I have been blessed such that I came to uh, get acquainted with this particular subject, and I came to know about the intricacies of political philosophy, and I came to know the intricacies of ideologies and the theoretical concepts around justice, liberty, equality, uh, and I was always amazed with international relations also. But I never thought international relations would be such an interesting subject until I came to know about it. And since then, I have not left PSIR, and uh, I was able to get very good score in my mains also. And when my journey ended and I uh, changed my track and shifted towards teaching full time, uh, then also I kept on reading political science, and I still read a lot of books, and I thoroughly enjoy the subject. And so teaching the subject also is not something which is a big deal for me. I enjoy it every now and then discussing these ideas, and that's what we'll be doing also for the for this entire journey. And your journey with me is not going to be ending just after the completion of the course, because I stay in touch with all my students no matter what. And at least I would want to stay in touch with you till the time you reach mains. And fortunately, and by God's will, if you clear the civil service examination and become the highest ranking officers in the Indian administration, I would at least want to be in touch with you till that time. And the entire foundation of this particular course rests on we having a relationship through which we can learn. It is always my endeavor that we uh, become companions in the learning process, and uh, I will learn from you and you will learn from me, and that's how I would want this entire journey to look like. So over a period of time, we'll all get to know each other, and I usually stay in touch with all my students, and we keep the batch generally. The strength of the batch is generally kept small, and interaction that is why is able to sustain on a longer duration. And we have seen very good results in the previous batch. To the extent that a lot of students would write answers and they would do a lot of discussions, and the learning journey was fruitful not only for them but for me also, to view them as somebody who has come from absolutely zero knowledge of political science and international relations, to the extent that today they are able to analyze all the geopolitical events as well as the conceptual understandings in a manner that they are able to explain it to a layman. So that journey is rewarding as a teacher as well for me. So I hope this journey for us also takes us in a similar direction. And with this, uh, before we start into the intricacies of the subject, I would want to discuss with you the very broad contours as to what the subject looks like. The title of the subject goes like Political Science and International Relations. So there are two components. One is the political science component, and the other is the international relations component. Uh, I would say to a certain extent they are distinct, and we'll be studying them in a manner whereby there will be certain water-typed compartmentalization also. But the base of the entire subject starts with political theory, the Western political thought, the Indian political thought, and the various ideas which revolved around the conceptions of justice, rights, equality, power, democracy. So this is basically the bread and butter of political science, so as to say. And uh, uh, those things we will be focusing on in our initial days, and I'll be expecting you to write a lot of answers, and a lot of interaction has to be done for that. And my expectation from you is limited to the extent that I would want you to first show up for the class on a daily basis. I understand some of you may have limitations due to your college or due to your work, and they may not be able to attend the live class. But uh, if you don't have such limitations, then please do come for the live class itself. Otherwise, I would want you to view the lecture on the very same day, maybe towards the later part of the day, towards the evening or the night, whatever suits you, or maybe early in the morning next day, because your lecture would be uploaded on the portal by the night, so you can watch it at that point of time. And secondly, I would want you to stick to very limited resources, because initial days, if you get distracted and you pick up some resource which is not a recommended resource, it can be problematic because you may feel demotivated if you don't get the concepts. So it will be my advice to you that you stick to the resources which I tell you. And in that particular resources also, I would say that you will have to stick to the class dictations. That will be the primary source of study for you. Secondary source of study will be the class handouts, which will be given to you. And thirdly, if you feel like going and doing some more readings, then I'll be sharing some reference material also that has to be referred only in those particular circumstances. This is because A, you may not have a background of political science, and you may end up wasting time if you go by yourself and start reading the sources. Secondly, we don't have the luxury of time. We have to balance our GS preparation as well as optional preparation. So we have to stick to very limited resources, but we have to learn how to use all that content which we will be having and then play around with that content. So first is you reaching for the class no matter what. Second is sticking to the limited resources, which I'll tell you. And third is you have to write answers with me, which means that when we will be discussing about the answer writing, and that will happen over a period of time, it will not start right away. So in a few weeks, we'll be writing some answers, and the tentative schedule has also been shared with you in the brochure. You can go through it. And the entire idea around the learning of the subject is that you have to listen to the concepts, you have to read the material, and then you have to practice writing. If we do this activity for the coming part of this year, by the end of this year, you will feel confident with the subject. But only if you do all these three things, and you don't have to bail out on any of the aspect. You can't miss the class. uh, there cannot be a situation where you're not revising the notes and the class handouts, and definitely you cannot skip the answer writing. Answer writing has been deliberately included in the foundation course so that it helps you retain the concepts and it helps you structure things so that by the end of, let's say, November or December, you feel confident with the subject. Now, I received a query why we don't have a test series in this. Look, you don't need test series at this stage. Even after 2 or 3 months, you would not be needing a test series. The test series means that you write the answers in a limited time, which is a 3 hour time duration. Final day, you'll have to write 19 answers in 3 hours. That stage will come for you probably after completion of the entire foundation course. That is why I don't suggest anyone that they should write tests as of now, but they should do extensive answer writing practice, which is already included. And other than that, you can write answers by yourself also. I'll be sharing some PYQs also. Rather, we'll be discussing a lot of PYQs in the class. So that particular activity is something which is an integral part to our preparation, not the test series component. That will come at a later stage. Meanwhile, if you have any kinds of doubts, you can feel free to uh, post your query also. I'll take it up as we move forward. So this is something which you have to take into consideration, and this is what I expect from you. Now, there's a very sorry. If I talk about the way in which how we have to study political science, then uh, it becomes sometimes difficult for the people to have this idea around thinkers. And we'll be studying a lot of thinkers and we'll be studying a lot of ideologies. So my advice to you would be that in the classes, try to understand things as much as possible by doing some logical, by using some logic and by doing some reasoning. Memorization part will come at a later stage. You don't have to per se worry about memorization at this stage. Over a period of time, we'll be writing a lot of things. I'll be giving you keywords and I'll be introducing new concepts and I will be, I'll be making you familiar with new concepts, new terminology. And that can sometimes be overwhelming. So there, you don't have to worry about memorization as of now. Your task should be to do logic and to reason why things are happening the way they are happening. Secondly, over a period of time, I will help you get familiar with the thinkers also. This is important that we get familiar with thinkers. How we'll learn about the thinkers, their lifespan, the period in which they were, and what were the thoughts, so that we remember the thinkers. We have a lot of thinkers. In Western political thought, we have thinkers. In Indian political thought, we have thinkers. And in addition to that, we don't have thinkers, but we'll be using their ideas every now and then. So we'll have to be comfortable with a good set of 20-25 thinkers, out of which uh, 9 plus 5, 14 are in your syllabus directly, 9 in Western political thought and 5 in Indian political thought. The remaining ones, they will be used in other parts of the preparation. Thirdly, the writing answers part, which I have already discussed with you. Now, uh, okay, what is political science? I'll come to that part also later on. Just stay with me. Before this, I would want to show you this entire classification which I have made for you. I'll be uploading this particular PDF on your portal itself. So all PDFs will get uploaded on portal. If you'll ask, I'll share it on the WhatsApp also, not a problem. If you see here, uh, let me first show you. Just stay with me. Okay. Okay. Just stay with me. Paper 1, paper 2. Paper 1 further divided into political theory and thought, and paper 1 second part will be Indian government and politics part. In paper 2 we have the theory of IR and comparative politics, and we have the India and world part. Each part has its own significance. Each part has to be done in a certain fashion. If I talk about paper 1, political theory and thought, this is further divided into 4 parts. We have the Western political thought, we have the Indian political thought, we have the political ideologies part, and we have the political theory part. We'll be starting with this part, and we'll be starting first with political ideologies, then we'll move to the other parts. This part is static in nature. This part would challenge you in the sense that you'll have to get familiar with thinkers, but it's a very, very interesting part once we know about it. This entire part is going to help you in addition to your PSIR, in your ethics portion also and essay portion also, because wherever you get proverbial essays or philosophical essays, this part will really help you get some content. In ethics also, we have seen direct questions from thinkers' viewpoint, which we cover in the Western political thought or the political theory part. This would be the first part which we'll be covering. Then we have the Indian government and politics part. Here you have the most overlap with GS2, and it is largely static with few parts which are dynamic. In terms of static and dynamic, this is an absolutely static part. So a lot of people, they have this idea that they will do this part thoroughly so that they are able to score well here, because it is static in nature, nothing is going to change. You can also adopt the same methodology. In GS2, sorry, in IGP, there's a lot of overlap with GS2. I would say 70% is still static, but 30% becomes dynamic, and there can be questions which may change on an annual basis or after every 2 years. So those portion we'll have to be a little bit more conscious about. But otherwise on the easier side. Then we come to theory of IR and comparative politics. Now, comparative politics has a relation with political theory. So once we are done with this part is not that tough, but it will require that we do it in a manner such that we are done with this part. After doing, we'll be moving towards this part. We'll be coming to this part later on. Okay. Now, when it comes to the comparative politics, I would say most of it is static in nature. Few parts are dynamic because some questions have been asked in a dynamic fashion. Theory of IR, here we have a lot of static part and again some part dynamic, whereby let's say now the policies of Trump, they are changing the way in which the political order is being seen. So questions come from this part. Then we are seeing the atrocities during war in the form of human rights violations or in the form of atrocities on women, and they then become contemporary global concerns. So from this part also some dynamic questions can be asked. This part is going to help us write this part very easily. This part is easy if we are well read with the theory of IR. So first we'll do this, then we'll be shifting to that part. India and world, as you all know, it's about the international currents which you see on a daily basis. And in this entire set of things, this is going to take some time. This largely can be done in a short span of time because it's not that tough. This will demand a lot of information. This is very easy. It's not tough at all once you understand it. But yes, it is content heavy. So we'll have to have the recent content. For example, yesterday I was giving a lecture in the crash course batch where we were discussing the last approximately 7 months of the evolution of India-China relations, how India-China relations have evolved over the last 7 months after the disengagement happened in October 2024. So the basic of India-China relation remains the same, but there is some current affair which has to be added. So final day, while writing answers, we would need one paragraph at least of the currents also to be added. Otherwise, the dynamics of India-China relation, they remain the same. They're not going anywhere. So somebody who might have studied international relations as a part of the subject in, let's say, 2023 or 2022, the same dynamics remain with the only difference that, okay, there is some relaxation in tensions after October 2024. So that needs to be added in one or two paragraphs in the answer. So that way, we'll have to be knowing some content here. And for this part, I'll be sharing a lot of current uh, affairs in the form of a lot of editorials. I'll be sharing with you a lot of editorials of The Hindu, Indian Express, ORF, and there are many other sources, Carnegie. So uh, I would want you to be comfortable with all these things, in the sense that I'm not expecting you that, okay, you know everything. Don't worry, I'll teach you each and everything. I'll teach you. What I'll expect from you is you try to read the articles. And this part of sharing articles with you, I'll be starting very soon. I'll not wait that till we first do this, then I share it with you. No. And but my expectation from you is nothing. My expectation would be try to read the article. And if you read, interact with me. Okay. You can send me a voice log also at your convenience. I'll reply. I may not reply uh, immediately, but I'll eventually reply, and we can have that kind of discussions also. But I would want you to read the article, because I'll be sharing good articles with you. Other than that, I'll be giving you all material. Don't worry. Every dictation will be given. All material will be given. A lot of material will be given rather. So that will be the primary source of study. You don't have to, in my opinion, read any book at all. You can do without book also if you stick only to the class handouts and the class dictation. But despite that, sometimes you feel like reading. I'll be sharing some reference material, and these editorials which I share with you, more than sufficient. Okay. This time I have something in mind whereby I'll be sharing some recorded lectures also with you for this part, so that while we are doing this, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday, you can go through this video also and get yourself up to date. Till the time this part is not done in the class, till that time you can watch some videos also. Further, I'll also be having some Zoom discussions with you over a period of time, not as of now we'll not be having. So as of now, you'll be watching the lectures and you'll be interacting with me on chat. But maybe after 7, 10, 15 days, I'll be having Zoom discussions with you, half an hour, 45 minutes. So we'll see where we are going. And that way, it will also serve as an accountability for you, whereby I would want to keep a check on you as to how you are moving forward, what's the progress, and and that's how we will take it forward. Okay. So if you have any kinds of doubts with respect to this, feel free to ask me. Then coming back here, this particular document which I have prepared for you, it's quite holistic. Although it mentions, if you see here, the format is that when it comes to Western political thought, for example, Western political thought, we have 9 thinkers. Okay. Resources would be class notes, handouts, some assignments, and I have also mentioned a book. So in this entire document, I have also mentioned books, which I have also mentioned in another of my YouTube videos, which I recently released. ये उनके लिए है, those of you who want to maybe go for some self-study. Obviously, it is not for you, so don't worry at all. If you still feel like, okay, I want to have some reading, where should I read? The document has all the books. Okay. Okay, let me come back to this part then. I'll introduce the this part with you. This part we have to start. As of now, I'll be just introducing the part. Western political thought. Thought, how we think. How the Western civilizations they have thought. What? How the life has to be organized. Which life? Political life. When they are talking about these kinds of questions, we are categorizing them as a thought of a particular time and of a particular geography. Western political thought. Similarly, when we talk about the thought which originated in India and it impacted the lives, the political lives, we are calling it Indian political thought. For example, Gandhi has a huge impact on the political life in India to the extent that non-violence as an idea is not only revered, but it is also widely practiced in India. Why is this the case? This is because Gandhi in contemporary times has been a staunch proponent of the idea of non-violence. Is the idea new? No, not necessarily. The idea goes back to the times of Buddhism, whereby the Buddhist ideology talks about non-violence. The idea was adopted by Ashoka also. But in modern times, it is Gandhi who talks about this. We don't have to do a lot of discussion of the ancient thought because it's not a part of our syllabus. Although we'll be discussing Dharma Shastra, Dana Shastra, Arth Shastra, but the modern political thought in the form of, let's say, thoughts of Gandhi, that's an integral component here. And then Gandhi has had a debate with respect to how we need to take care of the concerns of the Dalits. So now comes the thought of Ambedkar also here. And that's a dynamic issue whereby it continues till date that what should be the way in which the Dalit emancipation can happen. That's an integral topic to our understanding. It starts in the modern times, continues even till today. This thought of how they have to be arranged, in this case, a particular community, a group, Dalits, how they have to be arranged. There are different viewpoints on that. That's a part of my Indian political thought. Similarly, I have ideologies. I have a liberal ideology, I have feminist ideology, I have Gandhism, I have Marxism, I have neo-Marxism, ideologies, how one thinks, system of ideas. How do you think? Like, you may be patriarchal, you may be feminist. What's the dominant idea that govern your thought process? And by that, you take some positions, political positions, social positions, economic positions, whatever be the case. We are interested in knowing that if you are a liberal, then what position are you going to have on, let's say, same-sex marriage? If you are, let's say, a conservative, what position are you going to have on a subject like same-sex marriage? Depending on what's the dominant thought governing your life, you will take a position. And we'll try to put you in a box of, okay, you belong to a liberal ideology. All those people who belong to that ideology, or all those people who believe in this ideology of liberalism, we want to know what their thoughts are, how they want to arrange life, what their thoughts are on what is human nature. Are we more individualistic or are we more collective? It varies. A liberal will say individual is more, a human is more individualistic, self-centered being. Socialists will say, no, they're collective beings. They're not necessarily self-centered. They can think about the concerns of others also. Two different ideas will lead me to two different ideologies. What do you believe? Where do you think you stand? Are you a liberal? Are you a socialist? What about the thoughts of feminists? Is patriarchy a systematic structure of the society or not? If you believe in that, yes, patriarchy is a systematic structure. You are recognizing yourself with one of the most important themes in feminism. But if you don't think that that's the case, then we'll not associate you with being a feminist. I want to know the interplay of ideas and what ideas are important to you and what ideas govern your life. So we have a whole plethora of thinkers who have talked about this, and on that basis, try to understand, on that basis, we are organizing our state. My Indian state exhibits which ideology. I have laws made. These laws, they are based on the ideology, liberal thought, feminist thought, socialist thought. Which thought is driving my laws? which thought is driving my policy? I want to know that. And that's a very interesting thing, because when we talk about ideas, ideas are competing in nature always. So on one hand side, they say that human nature is essentially competitive. So if I say human beings, they are competitive. Another person will say, no, they are cooperative. And maybe we all will come to the conclusion that there is some element of competitiveness, some element of cooperative aspect in man, and together are the driving force. You can't necessarily say that competition is going to overpower cooperation or cooperation is going to overpower competition. Maybe we can't say it. But if I believe that the basic nature of man is competitive, I may come towards liberalism side. And if I believe that no, the basic nature of man is cooperative, then I may place you under the ideology of socialism. A very, very crude level of analysis I am giving as of this. It's much more complex than that. But I'm telling you that the problem with ideas is they are competing. They're always competing. And ideas, by the very definition, are ideas, they are not necessarily facts. So it's very difficult for me to say that this is a universal fact. Because if I say this is a universal fact, and if I find somebody with this dominant trait, my entire thesis would be wrong. And that's the problem in social sciences. You necessarily will not be having evidence observation. You will be having a mixture of something. So it's not about true and false. Maybe it's more about right and wrong, but it's definitely not about true and false. That's how we look at ideas. Where do you stand? I don't know where you stand. Anyway, ideologies, theory, justice, nyay. One of the most important ideas, nyay. Because if there is no conception of, or if there is no agreement on what is justice, we will have problems in the society. Reservation is considered to be just by a large section of society. That is why it is continuing. But is reservation actually benefiting the people who need it? Maybe, maybe not. There is this huge literature which says that reservation probably is not being able to benefit those who wanted to get benefited from it. To that extent, reservation policy may be called unjust, because it is probably helping those which don't need help. And if that's the case, then I have a problem. But then I'll go into a little bit more detail and I'll say, see, reservation policy is not problematic. Probably the implementation of reservation policy is problematic. And both the ideas, whether you want to have reservation and to what extent you want to have implementation, that two aspects are integral to my idea of justice. My idea of justice says that yes, there has been historical injustices, so we should provide some kind of a affirmative action. It's my idea of justice. If you have read preamble, you might have come across this idea of justice in the preamble. And that idea, we'll be talking about the idea of justice in a lot more detail. But what is justice is a big question. Something which is justice from the perspective of poor may not be from the perspective of rich, and vice versa also. So rich will say, why are you putting wealth tax on me? You're already taxing me. Why are you creating a tax on tax for me? And the poor will say, no, no, no. Put more tax on them. Put a tax on caramel popcorns also, and make it 28%. Why? Because these are luxury things and we are not getting the bare minimum. So probably you should take money from the poor, from the rich, and distribute it amongst us. Conception of justice varies from your vantage point, where you are, what's your class, what's your religion, whether you are a part of majority or minority. How do you look at justice? We are interested in these kinds of ideas. We are interested in knowing all these kinds of ideas. Uh, if we have caste-based discrimination in India, then some affirmative action on the basis of caste will be a part of justice. But in the American society, because race has been a determinant of, or race has been a factor of discrimination, there the affirmative action is based on race because caste-based discrimination does not exist there. For them, because of color, there is discrimination, and because of that, the people of color, the colored people, they need some additional assistance. That's justice for them. Similarly, if there's somebody who's uh, physically handicapped, or then the cutoff for them is further low, and that's considered to be just. I am interested in knowing what is just and what is not. I'm also interested in knowing whether you can curb my rights for the greater good of the society. Last year, there was a case on same-sex marriage, the Subrato Chakrabarti case, famous case, whereby Supreme Court said that there is no fundamental right to marry in India. The LGBTQ plus communities are saying that it's unjust to us. You're not allowing us to have marriage. You are allowing us to have a union, but you're not allowing us to have a marriage. And there are then a lot of aspects you can only enjoy after you are married. So, for example, if you want to go for adoption, you can't do that otherwise. So, the legal recognition by the state is needed, but we don't have that. We'll be having a lot of discussion on okay, whether this is right or this is wrong, and where should the Indian state move towards? What should the law say? So Supreme Court judgments are a very important text for us, from where we'll be discussing a lot of ideas. That's political theory for us. Don't worry, I'll not bore you with this part as of today. I just wanted to introduce few things to you, that what we are going to do. It's very important that we embody these things. Now that there is a possibility that in your school or in your college, you might have come across these ideas on, let's say, rights or justice or equality or power or democracy and state. But till the time we don't bring them into our life, it is very difficult to absorb them. So, over a period of time, we'll be including all this analysis in our daily lives also. And from there, we would want to understand things, and it will help us retain things. Uh, so I always tell my other students, I tell them that, see, the test the test of or let's say the way in which you will know that whether you know a particular concept is that you should be able enough to explain the concept to a layman. And if, let's say, for the sake of argument, that your sibling is a layman or your parents are laymen, they don't have much information regarding, let's say, political science or, let's say, some particular idea. And if you're able to explain it to them in layman terms, then you have understood the thing. And on the contrary, if you are using a lot of English, probably, maybe you require a little bit more understanding on the subject. That's one metric of knowing that, yes, you know the thing. So we will be referring to a lot of real life examples to understand that, okay, what is justice for me? So unequal distribution of resources between siblings, that's unjust. But if one sibling is doing more work and the other sibling is not, so giving rewards in proportion to the effort, that is also fine. Then that's not a problem. But if there is arbitrary way of distributing resources within siblings, arbitrary way means, okay, my whim. I like this one more than the other one. So I'll give you more resources. That's a problem because I don't have any reasonable basis of distributing resources. I need to have reasonable basis. And the factors of distribution in family can be based on emotions, can be based on sentiments, but the factors of distribution of public resources, they have to be on reasonable basis. We are not saying sentimentality cannot be there, but there has to be reason. It cannot be, they can never be arbitrary in nature. So if I am distributing, let's say I'm distributing jobs, and let's say you have a notification by UPSC that these many seats are there this year, or these many vacancies are there this year, and this is the distribution of the reserved and the unreserved. That distribution is on some reasonable basis because I am distributing a public good, that is a job. At your home, you may not have the same reasonable basis of doing things, and that may lead to a feeling of alienation or a feeling of discrimination, and that can be a problematic thing. And we'll try to relate that how, when this happens at the level of society, how this creates a problem with amongst the groups. So we would want to have an idea around, or we'll take the private life example and we'll apply it to the public life. And that's how we need to know the intricacies of the subject. Aristotle, Aristotle and Plato. These are two very important people in the Western political thought, and uh, they have been credited with a certain kind of a certain kind of an inquiry whereby uh, some ideas along the lines of what should be done, where we are going, they have discussed those ideas in great detail. And I'll give you a real life, not a real life example, but a thing which has actually happened. There was a question long back in the UPSC ethics paper. And it's something which you can also think around. The question was, what is happiness to you? So simply, what is happiness to you? So even if I ask you this question, what is happiness to you? Like it's a very basic question also, but it's a difficult question when it comes to articulation. Like, what's happiness? How should you think? How you think at individual level? You should relate happiness to your family. You should relate happiness to your goals. Like, uh, how do you look at happiness? And initially, I used to think that why are they asking this kind of a question? It's a, I don't know, maybe it's an arbitrary question. How is it related to ethics? And later on, when I was reading about political science, and I came across Aristotle, so I read about him, and he has done a extensive analysis on happiness. And basically, the question was sourced from the ideas of Aristotle. It's a question. You go and see the ethics paper of UPSC, you'll find this question approximately 10 years back, somewhere around that time. So my point, which I'm trying to tell you, is he has done the analysis on how we live and what are the things which concern us as human beings. So I'm talking about a social life. Okay, I'm there, I have created a family, I have created a institution of marriage, and I have religion, and all these things are there in the society. And I have a village, let's say it's a village, and in the village there are some other families, and how they're interacting, what are their concerns, how they should live. So should they live in a communitarian way? Should they live in an individualistic way? Uh, what is good life for them? What is happiness for them? What are their rights? What are their duties? Who should be given what kind of responsibilities? So he has done that analysis long back. I'm talking about the time period of 4th and 5th century BC. He, along with his teacher, which is Plato, so he's the He's the disciple of Plato. And these two thinkers, Western political thinkers, Plato and Aristotle, they basically laid the foundation of political philosophy and political science. I'll tell you the difference between political science and political philosophy also. Wait for that part. And they did this huge analysis on social living of beings. And from that period of time till today, we see that their ideas are quite relevant even today, because social life, it's about social life. So we were, back then we are having this social life. Now we are having the social life. Maybe the society has changed, the economy has changed, but the human nature, that has many aspects which remain permanent. So for us, they are Aristotle and Plato are like these two beacons in our understanding of thought, from where a lot of knowledge is derived and a lot of analysis and interpretation is done from their ideas. So these two thinkers are considered to be very important. And here I would say that when I talk about these two thinkers, I am starting my journey of political theory, political thought, political philosophy, political science. I'll tell you the differences between all of them. I'm starting my journey uh, from a period, let's say, of 4th and 5th century BC. And I see that what I have is I have some kind of thoughts. Some thoughts. State. So in the morning, I was having a lecture of polity and I was telling them what is state, and we'll be having a lot of analysis on state. So I have state. State has executive, legislature, judicial wings, and who should rule? As of now, we have democracy, and as of now, we have Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his council basically running the country. But one of these thinkers, Plato, he was interested in knowing who should govern, because he felt that if you have the right people at the topmost level, then they will be able to make life good for the remaining part of the society also. And if you have ignorant, corrupt, and foolish people ruling, then it is going to create the life of people also very difficult, in very simple terms. Okay, I'm not introducing a lot of political science terminology as of now because it's the first class only. So I would want to take things slowly. And if you feel like that, okay, you're not able to understand, or you feel that, okay, what I'm talking about, feel free to message me. How many of you are still there? Some messages I'm unable to see. Anyway, so I have this some thoughts, and these thoughts, they are so important that they continue to govern our life. And our discussion primarily will start with the life in Europe, and we'll be coming to the life in the eastern part of the globe a little later. Okay. The thoughts of Plato and Aristotle. At this point of time, I'll use a word, classical political theory. Okay. Classical political theory. So what I have is I have given a name to the thoughts of the thinkers who were present during this time, out of which I have taken only two thinkers. They are part of our syllabus. There are other people also who are thinking at this point of time. One is Pythagoras. You might know about, we all know about Pythagoras theorem. So Pythagoras is also a thinker. He's thinking at that point of time. And I have Socrates also as the teacher of Plato, who is also thinking at that point of time and presenting a lot of views. So all these people, whatever they're thinking, we are not going into the details of what they're thinking. We are saying they're thinking something and they're giving some ideas, and those ideas are collectively being called as classical political theory. Ancient times, 4th, 5th century BC. Now, these thoughts are so important that they continue to govern the political life for a long period of time till the time there comes a break. And that break comes around the time period of 14th century and 15th century, the time period where we have the coming of enlightenment, the coming of reformation, the coming of renaissance. I'll tell you all these words. Okay, so don't worry. But this new age is coming, the age of discovery, the age of science, and we are coming out of the dark ages and we are entering into a new era. And during this time, now some people are thinking. And who is thinking at this point of time? Machiavelli is thinking at this point of time. Italian thinker, highly relevant in international relations, highly relevant, called as the father of realism. What is realism? What is idealism? That will come. Wait for it. He's writing in during that period of time, and he is trying to bring some new ideas which are going to break the dominance of these ideas through which the life is organized in Europe. Which life? Political life. Political life. So, before we move forward, let me briefly talk about political life. Political. What is political? Okay, so we are doing political science. Okay. I'll talk about the terminology of political science also a little later. But what is this political which we talk about when we say we are doing political science or we are doing political philosophy? So, how do we define political? There are a number of meanings to the word political, but at the heart of political is the fact that we are talking about something which is public in nature, which impacts a huge number of people. If I talk about public on one hand side and private on the other hand side, private means something which is associated either with a person or maybe is associated with his life, probably in the four walls of a house. But when I talk about something which is public, I'm talking about something which is relevant for a huge chunk of people and it is a part of their life which is outside, let's say, the four walls of a house. That public component, that is where political comes into picture. People who are in politics, people who have political power, what are they doing? What are basically, why do you want to be in politics, let's say? If somebody wants to be in bureaucracy, let's say all of you are preparing for civil services and you all want to be, let's say, you all want to get entry into administration, and administration is supposed to do some work. It has some powers, it has some responsibilities, and it's playing a role in the entire setup of things. Similarly, politicians are also trying to do something. They'll do politics and they will end up in positions whereby they'll take public decisions. The meaning of this is when they enter into their offices, either whether as a MP or as a minister, what are they doing? They are basically taking decisions with respect to the public life of people. That is what they are doing. When we say political power, political life, political means something associated with the public life of individuals. Public life, I have public life, you also have public life, you have private life, I have private life. When we step out of our homes, we enter into a public domain. And what are the rules in the public domain? We want to talk about those rules. How the public resources will be distributed. We want to take decisions on that. You all might have heard about policy formulation. I want to formulate my policy, which in crude terms simply means I have 100 rupees. How should the 100 rupees be distributed? Who will decide? 10 will go to a farmer, 10 will go to youth, 30 will go to let's say, well-being of women, children, minorities, elderly, disabled or specially abled, I beg your pardon. How am I going to distribute this 100 rupees? I have to take a decision. I have to distribute my resources. Who is going to take the decision? The political class is going to take the discussion, going to take the decision. The political class is taking all these decisions with respect to the public life of an individual, not the private life of an individual. So I have political associated with public. I have political as something which deals with distribution of resources. In the house, who takes care of the distribution of resources? Let's say we have a patriarchal system whereby the head of the family is the father. He will decide how the resources of the house will be distributed. Similarly, if you go outside, it is the state which is deciding, and the state has political class. So, do you want to go there? If yes, study political science. Political science, Rajniti Vigyan, so that you sit in the political class and you take decisions. That is what is political. And when you take that decisions, you wield a lot of power. So power is inherently associated because you are the one deciding how 100 rupees has to get distributed. So who decides the budget? The government decides. The one who is running the country decides, okay, farmers' well-being will get 20 rupees this year. That is a decision with respect to distribution of resources. You want to take that decision, you want to get into that structure. Read political science. That is what is politics, public life, distribution of resources, power. All these are associated with political science. That is what is happening. Coming back to our discussion, I have some ideas which are going on. Plato, Aristotle, they have come up with some ideas. Very good ideas. Very good ideas. One idea is power should not be concentrated. So we all know that we have examples in history whereby kings who have concentrated power, they have taken decisions which have been horrible for the people of the particular kingdom. So today we know that no, concentration of power should not be there. Aristotle was one of the first persons who said concentration of power is a big problem. And today also we understand this. In democracies, we don't have concentration of power per se. The idea came back then. Still relevant. Social science has been decoded by them. That is why they are these beacons of guidance and light which we always follow. But their thoughts, they are relevant to a particular society. Ancient times, medieval times, their thoughts are very relevant, and through that the social life has been organized generation to generation, centuries to centuries, obviously with some changes in between, but dominant thoughts. And now we are on the cusp of a new era. A new era is coming whereby man is becoming rational. I am going towards Renaissance and Reformation and science and industrial revolution. And now we are coming up with new thoughts. New thoughts, Machiavelli's thoughts, Hobbes' thoughts, John Locke's thoughts, J.S. Mill, Karl Marx. All these are modern thinkers. These are ancient thinkers. Ancient thinkers, classical political theory. Modern thinkers, modern political theory. What they are saying is separate. We'll talk about that later on. But they're writing during this time. So 14th, 15th century starts, it extends till the 18th century and the 19th century. Karl Marx is writing in 19th century. Okay. He is the initiator of a systematic school of thought in socialism called as Marxism. So I have different people. I'm saying, okay, there was Aristotle, there is Machiavelli, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, J.S. Mill, These are very, very important personalities. Mill and Locke and Machiavelli, specifically Locke. The American state is built on the ideas of this person, John Locke, father of liberalism, John Locke. Very important person. He gave some ideas. So yesterday I was watching a Netflix series, and in that particular Netflix series, uh, they were having a conversation, and one of the persons said to the other person, "Get off my property." Get off my property was something which A person said to B person. You don't listen to this kind of articulation in India. In India, we are conscious about our property, but that articulation does not come like that. They are very, very conscious for property because the entire idea that this is my property, this comes from this person's ideas and was later on the basis of the US as a state. So very, very important person, John Locke. Right to life, liberty, and property. These three rights he talked about, and he gave a justification for these rights. Now, it's a very interesting thing that when we reach modern political theory, individuals are talking about their rights. We never talked about rights of individuals during this time. Individuals had duties. Who are individuals? Individuals are subjects, praja. They have duties. They did not enjoy rights. Even if they enjoyed rights, they were those which are conferred by the king. And we were limited always in nature. Here, now all of a sudden, you, me, we have rights. We have entitlements. And he's saying, you have the right to life, you have the right to liberty, you have the right to property, and no one can take it away from you no matter what. So everybody's like, okay, we have rights. What is this rights? He said, oh, you have entitlements. He said, what is entitlements? He said, this is something which belongs to you. He said, why it belongs to us? He said, because God has given you this to lead a good life. He said, no, we never enjoyed this. We never talked about rights before. John Locke, what are you talking about rights and everything? We don't know rights. Now, let me take you to the Indian thought. So Indian thought has always conceived life. I'm talking about the ancient Indian thought, okay? Ancient Indian thought used to say that there is a certain dharma associated with you. You're born in a particular varna and you have to exhibit varna dharma. If you are a husband, you have to exhibit your pati dharma. If you are a woman and a wife, you have patni dharma. If you are a king, you have a raj dharma. In this particular discussion, I am reducing dharma to duty. It's a holistic concept, dharma, but I am in this particular discussion saying that dharma is equal to duty. So ancient thought nowhere is saying you have right to freedom of religion, you have right to fundamental right to speech and expression, you have liberty, you have property. No, these things are not even there in the social life. What is there in social life? You have duties. You all have to perform your duties. How we came from the duties of individuals to rights of individuals. This will happen here. Continuing today. Today we all have fundamental rights. Today we all have some entitlements, no matter what. It's a relatively new idea. Earlier, we never talked about rights. We used to talk about duties. We definitely used to talk about duties. So, things change over a period of time. Earlier, king was the ultimate authority and religion was also the ultimate authority. Today, I'll say religion may say something unreasonable. I am not going to accept it because I am reasonable. So the command of religion is not final to me today, but it was a very important thing long back. People used to swear, कसम खाते थे. Previous societies, people used to swear. Today also people do it. It used to have a significance because if you are swearing, there has to be a belief that I can't do wrong now. So you used to swear to a king. Loyalty was a very important aspect back then. So soldiers were loyal to kings. They would swear their fealty or loyalty towards the kings. Today, you don't have that kind of idea per se. Obviously, you have nationalism and patriotism. Today, you will not see that a soldier will say that, okay, I am going to be loyal towards you no matter what. And what if I break the oath? Today, the society is okay. He had broken the oath, no problem. Previous societies, if you break your oath, your dignity is gone, your honor is gone, and in the society, you will not be treated with respect. This will not happen today. Different societies. There was a significance of swearing in previous societies because religion used to hold this important place, and the society had certain benchmarks. Today's society that does not have. It's a materialistic society. It doesn't really bother about all these things. So the dignity and honor, the kind of importance it held in those societies, it does not have in these societies. Changes from time to time. Why it is changing, we'll talk about that part later on. So I am starting with few ideas. As the time changes, new ideas are coming up. As the time changes, more new ideas will come up. And I will move towards a new set of ideas. 20th century, 21st century. New ideas have come up here. Thoughts of Gramsci, thoughts of Hannah Arendt, part of contemporary political philosophy, or sorry, contemporary political theory. My political theory is transitioning classical, modern, contemporary. Three distinctions, broad distinctions. And in these three broad distinctions, we have different ideas. Some ideas are important here. Some ideas are important here. Some different ideas are important here. I have to know the ideas of each of this time to understand how political science has progressed. The command of the king used to be final. The king used to have an authority whereby the command of the king was final. And you would not question the command of the king. That used to happen at one point of time in history. Slowly, you started questioning everything of the state. State and king we'll use interchangeably. King represented the state earlier. Now we are using the term state, modern times. Today, I question every action of state. Earlier, I never questioned the actions of king. King's authority, king's command, final. Here, I will keep on questioning the state no matter what. Why? At this point of time, this was held in high regard. Today, it does not enjoy the same status. State is not held in that high regard. as was the king held at a certain point of time in the history. I question my state continuously. Why you have done this? Media will question, opposition will question today. So earlier, obviously, there used to be people who might be against the dictates of king, some nobles, but the kind of nature has changed. Earlier, the king used to have divine personality. High regard, why? Because the king can do no wrong. In UK, they say the king can do no wrong. You have divine personality. Even in Indian context, the king was held. The Manu Smriti will say the king. Manu is the king, Manu Smriti. The Manu has attributes of God. So you can't question God. That is how we used to conceptualize things. Now you are nothing but an embodiment of what we want. What is state? It is not godly. It is not divine. No. It is something which I have created to make my life easier. So that status has changed. That is why civil servant, you will be civil servant, you will be serving. You have to serve. Did the king serve? Did the king used to serve back then? The state has to serve today. Why are civil servants? Prime Minister Modi once said he's not Prime Minister, he's Pradhan Sevak. Few years back he made this statement, Pradhan Sevak. You are serving us. The king had to take care of its subjects, but the idea was not that the king is serving. Things have changed. The ideas have changed. The times have changed. So when we study Plato, Aristotle, we'll be reading a lot about state, the high regard of state, what needs to be done. But the moment we come here, the emphasis on state will come down. And another emphasis will go up. What is that emphasis? Let me introduce our triangle. We'll be using this triangle in our analysis. And this triangle is the triangle of humans, society, and state. If this was the subject of inquiry in ancient times, the modern times, this is the main subject of inquiry. So the importance of this increases, importance of this will decrease, even the importance of this is going to decrease in modern times. How? That will come later on. This is a very important triangle for us. We'll be referring to this triangle every now and then. Look, if you are a person who is interested in knowing why do humans do what they do, then you will go for studying philosophy or psychology. Those students who would have taken philosophy and psychology optional, they would basically be restricting themselves to a great extent, I'm not saying entirely, to how and what they do and why they do things. Those who wants to study the structures of society will probably go for subjects like sociology, anthropology. And those who wants to know where the power is, how the power operates, how power is exercised, how you can grab power and how you can retain power, and how you can be the decision maker of the resources. They will come here and they will start studying majorly this entity. And this is the domain of PSIR, PubAd, like subjects. So that's how we make distinction between what we are doing. So your friends may be studying this. Their major analysis is this. Psychology, humans. Why do men behave the way they do? Why do women behave the way they do? So Freudian analysis they'll do probably. We are interested here. Okay. Our focus will always be this. The nature will keep on changing. So when we talk about this, coming back here, there is going to be a lot of discussion on this. Over a period of time, the discussion reduces. I'm not saying it will go away, it reduces, and the importance reduces. Otherwise, make no mistake, political science is basically the study of state. That is what is the essence of political science. And let me at this point of time tell you a statement of one of the political scientists, J.W. Garner, who says that political science begins and ends with the state. It reflects the early focus on statecraft and government. It is one of the definitions of political science. There are many definitions, okay? But slowly and steadily, we'll try to understand. So, political science begins and ends with state. That's one way of looking at political science. A very different kind of a society has come. Our major analysis, look, when we talk about the subject and in generally when we talk about things, let me at this point of time make it very clear to you that as a part of the subject and as a part of some practical application also, our major area of study is this, the last 500 years. We'll be referring to the thoughts of these thinkers, they are part of the syllabus, and some other things which are a part of ancient times. But most of the questions will come from this time period. So this becomes a very important area. And I'll take the opportunity to introduce other things also here. Okay. At this point of time, if you have any kinds of doubts, please feel free to ask me. And I am not going into too much details as of now, but don't be overwhelmed by the names. These are, if you see here, 5 to 7 and to 9. These 9 are Western political thinkers. They're quite important. And in their ideas, we'll get to know a lot of things for our paper 1 part A. I'm not introducing Indian political thought as of now. If I go back here, what I have discussed with you briefly is how this has evolved. Now, in this, let me add this also. Political ideologies. So when we talk about political ideologies, we have in our syllabus liberalism, socialism, Marxism, feminism, Gandhism, okay, and fascism. All these ideologies, they have emerged in this time period. Okay. They don't exist before that. So these ideologies, they are all a part of modern times. Okay. Recently. Modern time, the time which starts with Enlightenment era. That is called as modern times. Feminism is a contemporary idea. Fascism is also a contemporary idea because they have both come in 20th century. So fascism just 100 years, feminism 70, 75 odd years, the ideas have come. Liberalism, socialism, Marxism, these are ideas of the last 200, 300 years. Rather not even 300. Liberalism is a little older. Socialism and Marxism, they start with the 19th century only. So 200 odd years. The American state is built on this idea. The Indian state is built on the mix of liberalism and socialism and some Gandhism. Political ideologies come here. This is Western political thought. Now, let me introduce political theory. First of all, what is in political theory? When we talk about political theory, let me tell you that when I talk about political theory, I am talking about these ideas. In your syllabus, the meaning of political theory, the theories of state, how the state came into being, idea of justice, equality, rights, democracy, power. So whenever I'll have a discussion on democracy or power or rights or equality or justice, and we'll be having this discussion very separately. These discussions, now you need to understand, these discussions have been going on since this period of time. During this time, there was a lot of discussion on what is justice, what is democracy, how do we look at power. There was a lot of discussion during this time. Then a lot of discussion started during this time on rights, equality. Now you'll be amazed to know equality. Men are equal or men and women are equal. This is a relatively new idea. There was no idea like men are equal. The idea that men and women are equal, that was a preposterous idea back then. It's a new idea that men and women, they both are equal. The idea that freemen and slaves are equal, that was a preposterous idea back then. Equality is a new idea. You all might have come across, or you will come across in your general studies, you'll come across French Revolution. So, and some of you might be knowing the slogan of French Revolution, the liberty, equality, and fraternity. I'm more interested as of now in equality, not liberty and fraternity. New idea. Earlier, there used to be a belief that men are born unequal. Some are born to rule, some are born to do labor. There was this ingrained belief that men are not equal. Today, we have this idea that all are equal. Everybody will be given the opportunity to study. Everybody can apply for civil services examination. It's a radical idea. Not there earlier. So the discussion on rights, the discussion on equality, the discussion on liberty, a lot of discussion will take place here. In addition to the discussion on democracy, power. So some discussions and justice. So justice has been a very important concept for Plato, Aristotle. Justice is a very important concept for these thinkers also. It's an idea which is a continuous idea being debated again and again, again and again. This is political theory ideas. They are present across the spectrum. Okay. Now let me introduce Indian political thought. Now, Indian political thought, as per your syllabus, the Indian political thought is further divided into two: ancient political thought and modern political thought. So ancient, we have Dharma Shastra, Dand Shastra, Arth Shastra, the ideas of Buddhism. They all have some contribution for public life. Indian political thought in ancient times. Modern political thought, we have ideas of Gandhi, Ambedkar, Aurobindo Ghosh. We have M.N. Roy, and we have Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. We have 5 thinkers. Modern political thought, modern Indian political thought, ancient Indian political thought. So if I have to place it here in our evolution, uh, this particular evolution diagram, so I'll say we'll study what was happening during this time, ancient Indian political thought. And Gandhi, Ambedkar, all of them are writing during this time period. So here will come my modern Indian political thought. Now, today I've introduced chronology to you. In political science, chronology is very, very important. Rather, I would personally suggest that chronology will be your best friend when it comes to writing answers and when it comes to structuring how things happen. We will be using this again and again, again and again. I have not even discussed concepts with you. I will discuss in classical political theory, modern political theory, contemporary political theory in detail. But our evolution from 4th century BC to 21st century, how the thoughts have evolved, how ideologies came into being, how theory was debated, is being debated, and how Indian political thought, which earlier used to maybe talk about dharma. Dharma is important here. You don't talk about dharma nowadays. You may talk about Swaraj, which is a Gandhian idea. It comes here. You may talk about Swaraj here. It has been a dominant idea in the Indian freedom struggle, Swaraj. Have you ever read, at least uh, in the texts, have you ever come across as a part of your, let's say, preparation of modern Indian history, the discussion around dharma? Because dharma was a concept which was important here, back here, ancient political thought. Changing of thoughts. Different thought there, here different thought. Importance evolving. Ambedkar's idea. Nobody was talking here in the ancient times about the concerns of lower caste. To what extent the concerns of lower caste were actually a concern? Because if we had Varna system and not caste system, then probably there were no concerns. But now Varna system has taken the form of caste system, and in caste system, the Dalits or the lower castes, they are at the receiving end. So now Ambedkar is going to come and talk about them. So when I read about the lower castes or the Dalits, I have to look at the ideas of Ambedkar. That's how we relate things. Okay. I'm not going to discuss the other thinkers with you. Aurobindo, M.N. Roy, Sayyid Ahmad Khan. We'll come to their thoughts when we when we reach there. But yes, this is my paper 1 part A, which I'll be starting. Any doubts at this point of time? Anything which you want to ask me? More and more questions will get your doubts clear, and more and more discussions will help us uh, move in a direction where we have to reach. Anyway, slowly and steadily we'll reach there, not a problem. I'm not sure how many of you have a background of PSIR, or most of you don't have a background, but I'll be teaching from the scratch. I'll be teaching in a way that you'd have no idea at all with respect to PSIR. That's how I'll be moving forward. So we have to do extensive discussions on these topics. All these topics, we'll be doing extensive discussions. Okay, and it's a very interesting topic, how feminism has at one point of time improved the situation of women, but at the same time have brought in uh, a discourse and a narrative which is questioning the institutions of the society. So we are in a period of flux, where flux, you understand, transition phase. So old things are breaking down, new things are yet to come, and so there's a kind of a dialogue happening between what used to be there and what should be there. And this dialogue in social sciences, it may extend years and decades. Okay, and that's how we come to a new normal in the society, and then that will become the new normal. And after some time we'll question this new normal, and continuously we'll be questioning and moving forward, all the time trying to do one thing: improve our way of living. People used to live in ancient times also, people used to live in modern times, people are living in contemporary times. Who was living better? We need to move towards mm, a better way of living. And all this does not happen in isolation. It is related to how we grow as a species, how economy grows. Over a period of time, we have made so many innovations in the way in which we live. So we invented fire, we got to know about iron, we invented spinning wheel, we invented steam engines. The way humans progress, the way economy changes, the way technological innovations happen, the political and the social life is also going to change. So there used to be no, in the morning I was discussing uh, in my polity class, I was discussing about this this particular idea on uh, how over a period of time we have come from a place whereby we used to place all power in the king, and today we are saying no, all power has to be with the people. So we have made this huge change in the way in which we live, and not everybody agrees with this. So not everybody wants democracy. China is okay with not being democracy also. So how do humans they organize themselves? They are going to continuously, keep on evolving, and they're going to come continuously. Uh, uh, they're going to move in a direction whereby they'll adapt and they'll strive and they'll change things. And if, let's say, 100 years back, the situation of women was deplorable, then today it's much better. And similarly, when it comes to the condition of Dalits, nobody could think that Dalits they will be able to occupy political power, but today we have Dalits governing also. So that's huge change in which we live, and then that will keep on happening. That will keep on happening. The society keeps on evolving. So there is a particular context in which this idea came. This idea became problematic, so this idea came. This idea gave support to this idea. Then feminists, they spoke from the perspective of women. Then fascism, they are saying we are going to come with something very different, which nobody has talked about. So I have this cocktail of things going on in the society, and even today it is going on. It's not that this finishes or this has ended, but liberalism has been a dominant idea, and it continues to influence us even today. It continues to shape our preferences and shape our choices even today. Very important idea. Very important idea. Apurva is asking, what is politics? Politics can be defined in a number of ways. One way of defining politics is in the public domain, taking decisions for allocation of resources. In public domain, taking decisions for the allocation of resources. You can call that politics. When we do politics or when we go into the domain of politics, what does all these MPs and MLAs and ministers, uh, they're all politicians. So they are doing politics. So what are they doing? They are all basically trying to grab power so that they can influence how the resources will be distributed. That's what they're trying to do. And that's politics. Now, bureaucracy cannot do that. Bureaucracy has to implement things. But who will decide? Okay, who will take a decision that Swachh Bharat mission has to be launched? So I have money. I want to say that 10,000 crore rupees has to be given for the cleanliness of India. So let's launch Swachh Bharat mission. Who will do that? Politician will do that. He is making decisions. So do you want to make decisions for the distribution of public resources? Enter politics. Do you want to implement the laws or the policies which have been already made? So Swachh Bharat mission has to come. That is something which a politician will decide. But Swachh Bharat mission, how to implement it, that is where the bureaucracy will come into picture. Two different roles. Okay. That's how we look at things. Now, this is the chronology in which we'll be moving forward. So today I'll stop here. I'll not take more of your time because it's the first lecture. It can be overwhelming for you also. So today I'll restrict myself to only this part. Tomorrow, I will first discuss with you political science, political philosophy, and then we will start with liberalism. What will be the flow in which we'll be moving forward? First, we'll be doing political ideologies. Then we'll be moving to Western political thought. Then we'll be moving to political theory. And then we'll be moving to Indian political thought. That's how we'll complete paper 1 part A. And after that, we'll be shifting to paper 2. We'll be coming back to IGP at a later stage. That will be the flow in which we'll do things. I hope you all have the brochure also at your end. If you want to refer, you can refer. Otherwise, I'll ask the team to upload it on the portal itself. So from today, you will be getting the class on your portal, just like you are seeing it now. It will be available on your portal. All the class handouts and the material which I'll be giving, it will be available on your portal. Whatever answers you will be writing, you will be uploading on the portal. They'll be reaching me. I'll be checking it and I'll be sending you back on the portal. They'll be visible to you there itself. And with respect to the dictation, today I have given you no dictation. From tomorrow, I'll start with dictation also. Dictation you will take in the class itself. Okay. So I will not be able to provide you dictation. If you miss the class, you'll have to come back, watch the recorded lecture at your speed. You want to go for 1.5x, 2x, whatever works for you, and take down the notes. This we will keep on doing. If you have any kinds of doubts, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, we are going to end the lecture today here. And we are going to tomorrow resume by understanding about political science, political philosophy, and we'll be starting with liberalism. So if you have any other doubts, feel free to ask me. Do let me know if you have any kinds of do let me know if you have any kinds of doubts, any kinds of uh, inhibitions, any kinds of let's say problems with respect to how you're going to move forward, or you don't know the way in which we'll be moving forward. Feel free to message me. Okay, feel free to ask right away. And if you are not, then I will be taking your leave. Okay, fine. I think it's the first day. You guys are also a little shy, or maybe I have told you all the things, तो सब पता लग गया है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है, whatever be the case, fine. Thank you so much everyone for listening to me. I hope you got some idea with respect to how we have to look at things. From tomorrow onwards, we'll be going into a much more detail, and slowly and steadily, I'll keep the pace very slow in the initial days so that you get comfortable with things, and then we will be taking the pace, we will be enhancing the pace, and that's how we'll be moving forward. Once again, thank you so much everyone for listening to me. And in case you have any kinds of doubts, feel free to message me. I'll meet you tomorrow, same time, 12:30 p.m. We'll meet and we'll resume our discussion. Thank you.